Well, the Council President Charles Michel called this meeting last week, but obviously in the meantime, there's been a major escalation of the situation, both in terms of health and in terms of lockdown. So what they're hoping to have here is a plan for coordination. They want to avoid a repeat of those chaotic and confusing scenes that we saw in the spring, where national governments weren't coordinating, where they were imposing bans with one another. The big commitment they want today is they want member states to promise to uphold their earlier commitment not to close internal EU borders, but to keep external EU borders closed to non-EU citizens. But they also want better coordination in terms of research on a vaccine and a plan for distribution. They want better coordination on testing and sharing of health data between member states. They want countries to be on the same page when setting travel restrictions. They want everyone to be using the European Centers for Disease Control map for deciding what is a red zone, a most affected region, and what is a easier region that people could travel to. They want an agreement about the amount of time for quarantine and testing regime when people get back from traveling to a red zone. And they want everyone to be working off of the same passenger locator form. They want a standardized EU passenger locator form. Now, are they going to be able to coordinate? People are skeptical because when you look at these countries domestically, they've had difficulty coordinating between regional governments. So what hope is there that internationally they're going to be able to coordinate? In fact, a bunch of large city mayors have written to President Michel ahead of this summit, including the mayors of Paris, Milan, Barcelona, Budapest, Warsaw, asking him to urge national leaders to better coordinate and better involve regional governments in making these plans. We've seen conflicts between regional governments and mayors and national governments across the EU and the UK. They say those decisions should be made locally where appropriate. So there's certainly a lot to discuss in the summit today. The hope is that they can come out of this with a cohesive plan for coordinating all of these lockdowns and new restrictions for the second wave.
And Dave, this meeting today is being held virtually. Is the pandemic affecting the EU's ability to work properly?
Majorly. I mean, this summit going digital is just reflecting what's happening in all the EU institutions here. The European Parliament has canceled almost all in-person meetings. Committee meetings are now having to be held entirely virtually. At the European Commission, only the very, very top meetings are still being held in person. This is a town, of course, within a country that is now the most affected country in Europe for coronavirus. So, of course, that affects the EU institutions that are based here. And, of course, this is the context that these last gasp Brexit negotiations are going to be taking place in. Now, those negotiations, we're told, are going to continue going ahead in person, but it's questionable how much longer that can go forward. And even if those negotiators can reach a deal, the EU institutions that have to approve that deal within weeks are effectively closed and operating only digitally now. So it's a difficult context for any kind of EU business to get done. This is also presenting difficulties for the ongoing budget negotiations and the recovery fund negotiations, which have now been made so much more important because, of course, that recovery fund agreed in July seems to already be obsolete because it was designed for one lockdown. Now we have two lockdowns. So lots of difficulties here in terms of getting these very important issues agreed in the next month while the lawmakers and negotiators aren't able to meet in person.
All right, Dave Keating, thank you very much indeed. And we'll be sure to check in with Dave a bit later on today when that EU meeting gets underway.